Sorry about the microphone noises. Let's mute that. Right, a familiar view, different camera actually. I'll leave that up and we'll start talking about who we have. The list is getting very long, which is good. Okay, please could you announce yourself on the QO-100 chat if you'd like to join the BATC QO-100 Net. I'll just turn the power up a bit. It's certainly a bit rainy tonight, that's for sure. I have noticed I've broken the rules. I'm in H265. My apologies for that. Let's try and get a bit more light as well. Should make me a little more visible. Good. Well, thank you to everybody who has supported today. It seems to have gone really well. I certainly found the other presentations very interesting, and as usual it was a challenge putting the Portsdown presentation together. It's a sort of bit of an internal audit to actually try and justify what I've been doing, what I'm going to do. What I would like to do this evening is for everybody to briefly describe their transmitting equipment. We so far have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so that's a maximum of 5 minutes each. If you can keep it down to 3, I'm sure we'll get a few extras on. I'll just wait till 8 o'clock to start it properly and just check the stream looks okay, which it does. Good. Mic stream. I have you, Tony, G0ZQ on the list. Okay, almost 8 o'clock. Good evening all. Transmitting equipment here using a Raspberry Pi Mark II camera connected to a Jetson Nano, running the software as described in the last CQTV, controlled by a Portsdown 2020. Goes through a home-built driver amp and a Polish amp out at a 1.2 meter dish with a potty feed. For the streaming, hi Christoph, I've got you on. I'll add you to the list, thank you. For the streaming, which is also coming from here, I'm receiving on a Ryde, and the Ryde goes out of the Raspberry Pi 4 into an LKV373 HDMI adapter in the network, and then streamed to BATC from this Portsdown 4 that you can just see peeking over the edge of the picture here. and that's doing the actual conversion into the stream. So that's the setup here. Round to Noel, G8GTZ. And thank you for all your efforts today, Noel. Really good on the switching. G8GTZ to take it on behalf of the BATC Net from G8GKQ.
Evening all. Yes, what can one say? Quite beaten up. It's a full-on day really, so good. Glad it worked well. Just got to sort out the recordings and get those sorted out. But no, I think it went pretty well. Right, what's the setup here? Well, it is basically running vMix because I like vMix. I have actually been playing with OBS the last few days, and I just don't get on with the UI for some reason. I probably need to sit down and have a masterclass with somebody, but it does some very strange things, whereas vMix just seems to work. So I mean, the system here is vMix, and I've got plugged into that C920, which is the camera I'm using at the moment. No, I'm not. I've got an easy cap, putting a composite camera because it's steerable. I've got a C920 as well. So vMix out of the external output drives an FFmpeg script, which is running on this PC as well. This PC's got an NVIDIA video card, and that runs a stream into the Portsdown, which is over here. So that Portsdown there, which you're not going to get, maybe you all know what a Portsdown screen looks like. So that's Portsdown 2020, and that runs into, that's Lime SDR, runs into about, there's no driver amp thinking about it, runs into about 30 meters of coax. I know what I should do, I've got a video on this, into a power amplifier at the dish, and potty feed, and then coming back. I'm actually using a Ryde on receive. Can I be cheeky? Yeah, I'm sure I can be cheeky and just I'll just see if I can find that video. 2 secs. Probably not. I'll play it next time round, but there is a video somewhere. Anyway, that's basically the system here, and vMix gives you all sorts of opportunities to do all sorts of wonderful stuff, including, let's just have it one last time, this particular video. And at the end of the video, I don't know who's next. 7NTG, Jim can take it.
Yes, took a little while to lock up then. Okay, right, brilliant day today, really enjoyed that. Excellent presentations from everybody, very informative, and thoroughly enjoyed it, so well done everyone. Okay, we're in this setup now. I'm going to do some camera wobble. So what we've basically got with a shaky camera is the Portsdown 4, which is driving through a massive attenuator when we get there, big arrow attenuator, through a 20 dB amplifier into a Wi-Fi amplifier, and then feeding the cable, which is approximately 30 meters up to my man cave, the garage, and there I am running an Amplion driver and Amplion power amplifier as featured in CQTV, articles I did a little while ago. So it's running those through 5 meters of LDF 750 into a potty with a 716 connector on the potty, and all seems to work very nicely. I'm using a C920 webcam at the moment, and it seems to work fairly reliably. I'm just going to check, make sure nobody's complained about my video or anything. I'm using a Ryde receiver to receive on this, so I'm guessing that most people are getting me okay. I just wanted to add a little something. It was mentioned about the PAs on during CAT 20 using the Amplion pallets, the one of which I blew up. But I blew it up at about 200 watts, so I was really pushing it quite hard. But I wanted something that that's bomb-proof. I like to make bomb-proof PAs, and I'm in a position where I've got a lot of Polish transmitters for PAs for conversion, and some of you are already familiar with the sort of things I've done. A few have gone on eBay, quite a few have gone direct, one to Italy week before last, and one to Greece a couple of weeks before that. Basically I aim at building amplifiers for people who either haven't got the facilities to be able to build them, or haven't got the knowledge to be able to build them. And well, I don't see that should be anything, a barrier to them coming on the satellite. It should be really available to everyone. Just because they can't really make the equipment, then I like to offer a service. So you've only got to contact me by email. If you look on qrz.com, you'll find my email is on there against my call sign, although many of you will be conversant with it. And just to show you, here are a few amplifiers which I am currently using. The one in the front here is that's a 23 SEMS one, although it's the same size exactly as the 2.4 gig ones at the same power. That's 150 watts, although I can also do a 250 watt, which has a slightly bigger fan on it. Behind that is another 70 SEMS amp, which is, I'll pull that one out of the way, and that's only a 60 watt. That's a little one. And behind that is another 150 watt 70 SEMS amp. Most of these are used in the local area by other amateurs, and I lend them loan, which I don't really expect them back, if you know what I mean. And then we've got other amplifiers here. The smaller ones are basically that's it. If anybody's interested who doesn't have the ability to make them, or the equipment to build them with, or at the time, very much enjoy building amplifiers, as you probably gather, and it keeps me very busy, and although I don't make very much money out of it, it gives me a lot of pleasure. Anyway, I'm going to hand it round now to GI4DOH from G7NTG with the group.
Hello, hello, 1, 2, 3. Yep, evening all, this is GI4DOH. Thanks for the introduction there. Let's see, just turn my volume down a little bit and stop distracting myself. As my heart was in my mouth there, as I didn't see my signal come up for a little bit longer than I'd expected. So thanks everybody for the all the talks today. It's really been it's been very good to hear all that, and actually feel a bit more part of the BATC activities. We're a bit distant here over in Northern Ireland. There aren't many of us actually doing things with DATV here. So just a quick rundown of what I've got. Using OBS on a standard PC with an i7 processor, and then a Pluto is the main driver from that. I think actually just got a new camera today, or sorry, yesterday arrived in the post. £5.99 off eBay, and it seems to be quite reasonable in what it does. If I can change over to it and actually point it at myself. So it seems fairly reasonable for £5.99 compared with the C920. So the Pluto is down here with a bit of extra studio lighting, going into one of the smaller 200 milliwatt AMSAT amplifier kit, and then that goes into that's a Nokia 2.3, point the camera at a 2.3 gigahertz amp, which is doing the job, running about 9.5 amps at 28 volts at the moment, and it tells me I'm putting out 46.4 dBm. Not sure whether that is totally accurate or not. Just go back over to the other camera. The other thing is just to add a little bit, the Pluto that is in a little metal box there. There's a little story about that. It's a rectangular box, but the Pluto itself is not quite rectangular. It's a wee bit sort of curved on the sides. That's just showing the I replaced the oscillator on it with one of the allegedly more stable ones. So that's the Pluto as it comes, slightly curved on the edges, which didn't fit into the box. So rather than get a bigger box, I marked it up, and that amount needed to come off the box or off the Pluto to make it fit, and that went okay. No real problems. Still working. Problem was the box was slightly too short, so again, rather than get a bigger box, I decided to file off the end of the board. I had to remove the SMAs to do that, and when I put it all back together again, it didn't actually work, which was rather worrying. It didn't power up. There seemed to be a short circuit somewhere, so it took a little bit of filing, getting down through the grades of wet and dry, and then using a standard pencil rubber to try and clean every last little bit of swarf and the rest off it, and at the same time fitted the lovely little BATC PTT board into it, and it fitted into the box, and it works, and hopefully it's working at the moment, and I was extremely pleased to have all that working again. So I'm never going to mess with that sort of thing again. If I ever get another Pluto, I'll get a bigger box. But the question was asked, or the comment was passed about not knowing how robust or how long-lived these things are. But this one has taken a fair bit of beating from me and has survived so far. So that's enough from me. I'll pass it on. I think in the list there it's Mike G0MJW, or is that has that been? Yeah, after me. So over to you. Have a good night, all.
Right, am I strong enough? I hope so. Let me just mute my audio or I'll go mad. Yeah, well, John, I got a bigger box. I mean, that seems like the logical thing to do, rather than have to file down the edges of the poor thing, because it's a multi-layer board. So although you can see the tracks on the top and the bottom, you've no idea what's in between. Anyway, glad it all worked, and you were the guinea pig, so we now all know we can do that and fit it into one of those cheap boxes, so that's good. Anyway, yeah, so a few things here. Good evening, everyone. And sorry about the spirally thing. I'll turn that off now because I realise I'm now sending H.264, seeing as I'm going to get told off if I send H.265. And it's not quite got the resolution, but just demonstrating the 4 receivers that Brian was talking about earlier on. He says it doesn't work and it's not finished yet, but it's brilliant already. So, I mean, I can't wait to think what else is going to happen with that. It's working really, really well. So, that's good. Now, I think we were given the task of showing what we're using. So this is what the desktop it looks like on my laptop. So this is coming from a laptop via Wi-Fi at 2.4 gigahertz. Yes, I know I'm not supposed to do that. And it's working though, and it's going to our Pluto, which is somewhere else on my network. And yeah, and I'm using OBS to provide the video from the laptop. So let me just put this up. Hopefully nothing's crashed. So this is what I've got, what I'm using, and some people have seen this before. Ignore this bit about SDR console, I'm not using that. But the rest of it I'm using an Adlan Pluto SDR. I'm using a 2.4 gigahertz PA from Stealth Microwave. I'm using a 2.4 meter dish, which is why I only need low power compared to everybody else. I'm running about, I was running about 8 watts today, and I should be running about the same for the net now. I've got a dual band feed. It's a potty type feed, but it's one of the prototypes, so it's elliptical rather than square with cut-off bits, but otherwise it's the same principle. There's a hacked LNB, which produces H and V simultaneously, horizontal and vertical, and is also reference locked to the Leo Bodnar GPS reference via this little yellowy goldy boxy thing, which has got one of the boards which you can get from the BAT shop. So that's what I've got. I don't think there's very much else to say, and there are a lot of people on the net, so I'll make you dizzy for a second and say 7-3 to everyone. It was really good to see so many people logged in, and hopefully everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. So I think it's over to Colin. G4KLB, over to you. G0 Mike Juliet Whiskey, G0 MJW.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mike. Excellent. There we go. That's it. Just make sure. Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah, we got some audio. Good. Excellent. Right. Okay. Well, I'll go straight into it. I've done very well for timekeeping today, so I don't want to spoil it now. But we're using Portsdown 2020 for transmit, a Logitech C920 camera, and a little one of those little white audio dongles for the sound, into a little AMSAT S-band amplifier. It's just a little driver stage, really. I like that one because it's got a filter in front of it, so that works very well. That goes up this cable up to the top over there, where there's a Spectrum driver board, which is extremely linear. That puts it up a bit to send it down the garden on some LDF 450 into the shed where there's a twin Spectrum amplifiers, so 2 Spectrum amplifiers joined together, and that goes up to the dish, which has got a patch feed on it. And then I've got a second dish for receive with a PLL LMB on it, and then it's coming into scan and tune. So that's the setup here. We've got various others. I can't really change camera view. I can wave the camera about, but it doesn't really like it. But I'm hoping to use the OBS like I did on the stream today and get some signals into that in the future. Okay, that's enough from me. So I think it's Jen next, G4HIZ. So over to you. So over to you.
Everybody, G4HIZ and the BATC Net. First of all, thanks very much for the show today. Very much appreciated it. XYL enjoyed it as well. Joan, 2E0HIZ. I'm afraid it dominated the TV all day, and jolly good show it was. So, set up here tonight. What have we got? Portsdown 2020, running Lime SDR Mini. That goes straight out via about 7 meters of coaxial cable. There is a tiny little preamp just to give it a bit of boost, and that goes down to the PA, which is situated not too far from the dish. So I've got about 2 to 3 meters of heliax going to the dish, and the PA is putting out about 50 watts. The PA itself is a modified mobile phone base station amp, basically tuned up for 2.4 gigs. That goes into the potty antenna, and on the receive side I have a modified LMB. It's lockable, so I can lock it to a reference which I actually generate locally using a TCXO, because I also use the narrowband stuff, and it's useful to be locked for that. And that comes straight back into my receiver. Now what I've got here is a separate receiver, so that I can actually connect it to any sort of display mechanism. So tonight I've got for the first time my new Ryde receiver going, which is actually just simply the Raspberry Pi sitting down there with the front panel board, and because the GPIO board's not quite available yet, I've actually made one up. So what I did, I used a right-angled connector and put a piece of Vero board on it, and for the button pull-ups I've used surface mount resistors. Anyway, the whole thing seems to work all right. So very good, the Ryde receiver works straight out of the box. Okay, not much else to report here. I've been working on the high quality Pi cam, which I put into a box, and that's one of the lenses that I had. Still experimenting with it. Seems to work, but the lenses I think can change things quite a bit, so I've got a few lenses to try out. Okay, so that's about it from me. I think all I can say is thanks again for the show. I'll listen in, but or watch in I should say, but I'll make this the one and only, and say 73s to everybody. And right, that looks as though it's come up. Good evening everybody. I've got a bit of trouble today with all the rain here, and it's showing up my system, at least on the sleeve, as being very marginal, but I'm just looking at transmit signal, it should be okay. As everybody else has said, thank you for those who put all the effort into today. That's very
to watch all of that. The setup here, since everybody's describing setup, is fairly straightforward. One camera, very cheap, you'll hear the word very cheap quite often. Very cheap webcam, very cheap, even cheaper microphone, and I am using a Pluto, and that's not driving straight at 2.4 gigs, because I'd already built up a... Oh, I better go over, hadn't I? Sorry, let's go across. Yeah. I'm using a transverter because I got that ready when I originally thought I could use the Raspberry Pi. I didn't realise the software wouldn't do DVB-S2. So that's why I got Pluto. But it's a lot easier for me to drive that straight into the transverter at 400 megs. So that's what I'm doing. I've got a nice band filter in there as well. You'd see from the two antennas I'm using separate. I happen to have a 2.4 metre dish kicking around, so I use that on transmit. I'm using about 10 watts. I'm sure it's not properly illuminated, but 10 watts is okay. I normally see a 1.2 metre dish, but I'm a good 5 dB down on that, so tonight everybody's marginal, and I'm relying on the stream. So thanks for that. I think you've got that up there, have you? But whoever's done that, thank you for that. What else? The amplifiers, the PA and driver are out near the dish on the round, and I run unregulated DC for those, and have the regulator out there, and I've put the power level up a bit. Those devices should be okay. The output device is a 325 watt capable device, but the power supply might not be. And this is mainly all stuff that's come up from the far out at Swindon. And so the driver and PA are... Yes, I'm just making sure, yeah, everything's moving okay. The driver and PA are device manufacturers' test boards. So they must have cost a pretty penny when they were bought. So I don't have any trouble there. I've got lots of attenuation between stages. So I'm really pleased about that. It gives me a chance to do so. I need to move from the camera though, because I've just got that one camera and it's all rather static, so I can't show a great deal. Now, one thing I put off on Thursday, I did mention, I think Jim had already gone, you talked about those MC71C chips. I tried a couple of those that were, I think they were the 1.82 gig devices, and they work okay on 2.4, but they've got an amazing time constant. The gain starts off low, and then as a heatsink warms up, comes right up to pretty much 30 dB gain. So it'd be alright on the beacon, but it's a bit embarrassing using them otherwise. So I don't know if you'd be interested to know, Jim, if you found the same thing, or whether your devices are a bit closer to 2.4 than mine are. Right, that's enough. As somebody else said, get on with it. So we will do. So I think it's over to... Oh, it's over to you, John. Yes, I thought I wouldn't be hearing you again after what you said about working, so I haven't brought any optical stuff in. So I keep missing these opportunities. Anyway, I think that's right, isn't it? I'll just go back on to the... just show the two dishes again before I put it back. Is that right? Me? Yeah, it is, John. G7JTT. G4.
Oh, blimey. Right. I'm guessing I'm going to be a bit too weak for people. Okay. Hopefully people are seeing me. I'm only getting myself about just a dB or so. It's absolutely persistently raining at the moment. And it's been blowing a hoolie as well. So anyway, so hopefully just confirm if someone can hear me. Yeah, that's good. Right, okay. Right, set up here at the moment. I think I showed this earlier anyway, but it's basically at the moment, because it changes fairly frequently, it's a Porkstand 2020, which I get IPTS in via the Jetson Nano at the top there, which is running OBS, FFmpeg and Longmin. So that generates all the video and receive, etc. That's fed back into the Porkstand, as I say. Comes out of the line. It goes into a little 10 dB amplifier. Never remember, it's RF2126 or 2621. It's quite an old thing. I built it several years ago actually, for narrowband stuff. It seems to be fine for what I need it for. I've then got some cheap, because I do cheap, satellite coax going down to the main PA, which has got about 10 dB of loss in it. So in effect, the 10 dB amplifier just overcomes the losses in the cable. That then goes into BATC something, which allegedly gives me about 40 watts. But I think I have issues with either the feeder or the patch at the moment. So I need to investigate that. But I also need to repair the fence, which is actually leaning against the dish at the moment. So I keep using excuses to weather, but if I don't do it soon, the likelihood is the fence is going to come down and I won't have a dish. So I need to get on with it. But yeah, work's quite horrendous at the moment. I was up at 3, well, I was in work at 3 this morning. I managed to run around, get done what I had to get done. I was back for the net. I've watched the net to the end of the net, to the CAT 20 rather. Fell asleep for about an hour or so, and I'm back up again, and I'm ready to fall asleep again tomorrow. So anyway, so that's it really. So yeah, it's mostly bits bodged together at this end, and yeah, I'm quite amazed it works most of the time, to be honest. So round to who was next? I think it was HB9DUG. Yes, there we go. So round to you, G7 JTT in the group.
Hello everybody. So sound is working hopefully. Yeah, okay, some delay. I'm using the Pluto with the Evaris software. The Pluto is on my network. So I hear myself with delay, so it's difficult. So Pluto is on my network and is fed directly by a transport stream generated by OBS Studio in the recording mode, which allow me to fully control the NVIDIA GPU card with this encoder. So I do not have intermediate step with OBS, FFmpeg, and then Pluto. It's directly from OBS Studio to Pluto. Then Pluto goes to the dish, which is 80 meters away on 70 centimeters. Just need tenths of a milliwatt at the dish, which is, yeah, as I said, about 60, 80 meters away from my station. And there I have HIDES up converter, which give me about half watt in the configuration I've set up, which feed a Spectrum amplifier. And it goes to the 3-meter dish with patch feed. And I control this through the coax cable with a push-to-talk with 12 volts. To receive it, I use a second dish, which is a 120 centimeter dish with a standard LNB, PPL LNB. And depending of my mood, I'm using the mini tuner or Octagon SF 8008, which is quite nice because I can receive directly on the PC the stream from the tuner, and also do some works with TS Reader and to feed other things and so on. I think that's it. And thanks a lot to the BATC team for this really nice day. I really enjoyed to participate to it, and I'm looking forward for the next event. So I give back the mic to the next to me is M0, with my glasses, Delta Tango Sierra. Okay, the mic and the video back to you.
Okay, so good evening everyone. Just check my audio is good. Yeah, I'm using a different headset, so please complain madly about the compression on it and things. Thanks Michelle. Got that all okay, good signal. Looks like I've got enough margin here. So my system at the moment, that's the dish I'm using, which is just over 3 meters. Using that on transmit only at the moment. It's actually died down after the winds this morning that were like 40-50 mile an hour. I had to have the dish guide either end of the trailer to hold it there. The receive dish there's a green shed to the right. You can just to see the edge of that picture. Just between there and the next shed, there's a 1 meter dish, which is mounted there. And that has the quad output LNB, and on the end of the LNB it's also got a down converter from 739 to 434, so I down convert to 70 sems for the narrowband stuff, and then I get a direct feed out at 740 something for the TV side, and then there's a multi-way diplexer, triplexer, whichever way you look at it, combines all that and plus DC and 10 megahertz down into one cable. One cable runs about 60 meters back to the shack, and then there's the reverse at this end. So I get 70 sems out, 740 megs out, and 10 megs in and DC and things. So one cable to do all that. It was quite a challenge, but it works. So if we come back to this side, the transmit is the encoder box. So we're using one of these as we were talking about earlier. That's flashing away there. It's actually quite a multicolored light that when you get close on the camera. So that's taking HDMI in from my computer, which is running OBS. So that's where the video mixing comes from. Test cards and things like that. So that's connected to the network with my new 25 port network switch, which is marvelous. I can plug everything in now. There's a network adapter in there, which then heads off to that Pluto, and that Pluto connects up through the chocolate box into that box there, which has just one red light on it, which basically means on air. Inside there is I can't remember which device it is, but we happen to have one over here. If I come over here, apologies for the camera. Yeah, it's one of those MHL 21336, I think. That was a little test rig that put together, which sort of worked. It was good enough to get half a watt out. So excuse the RF connections, but it's one of those devices inside. That gives out probably about 50 milliwatts or some 100 milliwatts, not much. And then that goes down 60 meters of cable into another driver stage and then a Spectrian 60, 70 watt board. So that's the system this end. The power into the dish is probably 6 or 7 watts, something like that, maybe even less. I don't have a meter on it to watch it, but it should be somewhere around about there. Okay. Yeah, the dish is pretty good on 23 sems, Christoph. I can hear my own echoes on 23 sems. CW, no problem. Off the moon. SSB, not really, but I think I've worked 7 or 8 stations on SSB now, on 23 sems moon bounce, so quite good with that. One day I'll do some other bands, but for the moment, it's sat on 2.4 gigs, or it does every Thursday at least anyway, so there we are. Right. Well, I'll talk about a couple of other things on the next over if we do get around that far. So next is Tony, G0AZQ, M0DTS.
And as if by magic, we are here with a delay. So we'll kill the audio on that one, so we don't get an echo. Where's that one coming from? Hang on a sec. I was monitoring my uplink, so I didn't know that one was on. So good evening all. Many thanks to Dave for the wonderful presentation that was put on today. Very impressive and very professionally done. And I think you gave Noel too much work to do there, Dave. So there we go. So what have I got? I've got to explain what I've got as far as my system here is concerned. Well, all I can tell you is that I've got a Raspberry Pi feeding a ports down, which goes to a Lime Mini, and then that goes into a BU500 up converter, and then that goes out to the garage with about a 10 meter feed. So that's a fairly low level of signal from the up converter, and then that goes into one of Bert Moderman's wonderful PAs, and that seems to be quite happy running about 40 watts into a 1.2 meter dish, which is giving me half a dB or 5 dB. Is that? I've got to have a look at that and see what that actually says. Oh, we're down today. It's nearly a dB down, but it's good. I don't have anything to monitor back as far as the actual signal strength is concerned. Or the well, I should do if I reach over here on the other one and go on the downlink rather than the uplink. That should give me a D4, D3. Okay. I'm happy with that. That's probably what everybody else is getting as well. And the receive side, I'm not one of these clever people who can build a dual purpose feed and a receive on the dish, so we've got a separate dish. It's a 1 metre dish. Right, I've been bowled today and ordered up a Pluto, so that'll give me another headache for when it arrives. We love the headaches, don't we? And also I've ordered a book which gives me instruction as to how to work the Pluto. And as far as the record side is concerned, for recording various bits and pieces, as an amendment to the mini tuner record facility, which doesn't seem to be particularly good. I've spent out money and got the Bandicam, and everybody's going to go, oh, why did you spend out money? Why did you want to spend out money? You could have got it, you could have got this for free and all the rest of it. But I've tried various ones for recording, and they don't seem to work. And as far as this Bandicam is concerned, it does work, and I've paid for 2 computers to be able to use with that. But I'm going to be in touch with them, because it doesn't always get the receive audio. It goes straight in with the video, no problem as far as that's concerned, but it seems to be a little bit reluctant to latch in the audio. So there we are. I've come to the end of my list here as to things that I'd written down, and I've got a little bit of extra light on, which I'll turn off and turn back on again, and that's controlled by one of these magic things with the LEDs that are controlled. So we've got LEDs over the other side for the other camera when we do the zoom, and that certainly. But I've only got this overhead light, and that seems to shine down on my. I'll have to put a shield on over the top of my head there somewhere, so it doesn't reflect all the light back. HI. Right, it's over to, I don't know the name, I'm sorry for that, but it's over to HB9 HAL from G0AZQ. Over to you.
Sorry about the noise. If in doubt, transmit. Was going to be Jim. Christoph came up and said he was receive only there, Tony, but no problem. I'll put it round to Jim G0DQH at the end of this over. Well, very interesting there. A good selection of a mix of Portsdowns, of Lime SDRs and Plutos, driven by Portsdown and other devices. Really interesting to hear. There was a comment on the stream as to why on the stream talkback as to why I wasn't running the latest version of Ryde. It's because the stream comes out of my production unit, not the testing unit. On receive, I have 3 mini tuners all fed off of one RF feed, and they go to various units around the place. I forgot to mention that. Okay, let's see if we can get Jim G0DQH up, and then we'll put it round to Noel and start going down the list. That'll, once we get to the bottom of the list again, we'll call it a day. But thank you very much for all coming up. So G0DQH to take it. If it doesn't appear, Noel, if you can take it. G8GKQ and the BATC Net.
Okay, well, I'm probably going to make this, well, this is my last, been a bit of a long day. I've been sitting in this seat for far too long. But very interesting what everybody. I don't know. Whether this will play tonight, but this is my system. This is a story from the dish. So time for another quick video of the system as it's changed. So this is the 1.2 meter channel master with the MJW patch hiding behind the flapjack container and an octagon dual LMB on the back end. The quad is fed by one of the big Polish amps which is residing in this box. The feeders are not quite 45 meters, but at 40 meters. They go along the top of the fence behind the caravan and off to the shack, and I'll pick that story up in a minute. We've got that's the old pole where the dish used to be, no longer in use. Past the spider antenna, and over to here, which was the original mount for the RF hams dish, which is now lying on its back. But this is a 90 centimeter narrowband receive with a 25 meg locked octagon. We come back to the house. There's the terrestrial antennas still, and take a walk down here. We will better get down the steps, otherwise I might slip. So around here, that's the base of the terrestrial antennas. Down here, the shack, all the cables go into the shack here. So the antennas for the dish now have to come around the front of the house because it's shorter. So you remember they disappeared around the back of the caravan. They now come off that fence, down around the front of the house, across along the gutter, up over the garage roof, and round into the shack just there. The shack itself is the windows, behind the windows there. So I reckon it's still about 40 meters. It's just starting to rain again. So there we go. So there we go. Yep, so that's it. That'll keep Ofcom happy with their new regs. Yes, it's a bit too close to a public footpath actually. Right, I'll say good night, and thanks everybody for all the good comments today. Glad you all enjoyed it. And round to you, Jim. 8GTZ signing off and clear.
course, I'd forgotten that you could actually hear what I was saying. Anyway, good evening, everyone. A few problems ascend tonight. I think the same similar problems that I had on Thursday, and I'm sure it's to do with the weather. Anyway, what have I got in the way of equipment? Okay, let's give it a start. Run down the page. I've got some photographs, some pictures. Okay, this is the shack, and I'm running a mini tuner as the receive, Windows 10 laptop, C920 camera, which I'm actually not using at the moment because it defeats the small microphone in front of my face. OBS Studio, Portsdown TX, a Line Mini, and 2 Chinese amplifiers. So if I can come down to those. There's the Portsdown. And I run 14 meters of coax down to the garage. So, there we are, there's the Portsdown. In the garage, I've got a low pass filter into another Chinese amplifier, and I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here. This is the on the right hand side is the filter. That's actually in the garage now, not there. That was just to try it out, and another Chinese driver amp in the garage, and that feeds a homebrew Amplion driver PA, and that drives this beast here on the right hand side on my screen. And there's the PA in the garage, and it runs beautifully cool all the time. I never have overheating problems anymore. And the cable is 14 meters of Rogers Heliax, which goes out to the dish, to a potty antenna, and an Octagon LNB, and that's separately powered by 14 volts, and I leave that switched on all day, so it keeps it fairly stable. So that's really about all I've got. That's a close-up of the dish, the potty and the LNB in the protective cover to keep the sun off it, and it's a food container used back to front with the lid fixed and the bottom bit unclips, and with access to the LNB. So that's basically my setup. All works pretty much okay when it wants to, that is. Tonight I had a problem with the streaming, so I had to reset the PC, so that was the reason I couldn't get on a little earlier. But there you go. That's all the equipment, and I'll say good evening to everyone. I won't come back again. We had a fairly busy day today, so we'll probably have an early night. GC.
Okay, we'll try again. Just yes, it was. I'm a bit deaf, and I didn't hear the call sign properly. So when they said over to Jim, of course I keyed up. Two Jims keyed up at the same time, so that's why there was nothing coming through. So many apologies. I'm not apologising for being a deaf old whatever. But never mind, I'll keep it brief anyway because it's getting late and other people want to come in. For Bernie, about the driver amp, he says he's noticing difference in gain. Well, no, I've never had that problem. Mine behaves impeccably, very, very linear. Mind you, it doesn't get very warm. It's bolted onto the same heatsink as the power device. The driver amp and power amp are built in the same box, and so it keeps nice and cool, so not a problem. And there is a 32 volt power supply out in my garage running the whole thing. So there you go. Right, I'm going to knock it on the head now and hand it round to GI4DOH, so it's G7MTG now going off and clear, and we'll leave it to the rest of you.
Good evening again from GI4DOH. Just get the cup out of the way there and turn down the volume because I can't listen to myself and speak at the same time. That's better. Yes, I forgot in my excitement earlier when I was talking about the Pluto. I didn't go beyond the Nokia amplifier. I have a 1.2 meter dish in the garden with a dual feed. I think I should be able to show I actually showed this on Tuesday night, but I didn't have any sound while I was doing that, and I'm just checking that I do have sound this time. So that's the dual feed under a little plastic ABS cap that I printed. That's a 3D printing, because it actually, unlike those of you who've been talking during the day and also this evening about rain, it hasn't rained here today, and it's not very often that doesn't happen, so that makes all the difference. It only takes a couple of drops in the wrong place to stop that working, and that's feeding into a bit, just a short bit of LDF 450A half-inch heliax to start with, and then down the bottom left-hand side of the picture it's into AVA 550 at that point, and there's about 15 meters of that, and then back to LDF 450 from under the eaves coming down into the room. Basically, at the time, I was with the length that I had to go. I did have a Spectrian amplifier, but at that stage I didn't have anything capable of driving enough power down the sort of loss that I had with even LMR 400. I couldn't get enough power to remotely locate the amplifier anyway, but with the Nokia thing, it's just the fan's just gone on to full speed, so it's up to about 40 degrees. That does the job, don't have any problem, and as I said earlier, running about 9.5 amps at the moment. I'm certainly receiving myself without any problem. I used to struggle even at the lower symbol rates, so I'm very pleased with the Nokia amp over the Spectrian, and also the Heliax, of course, made a big difference. So I'll not hold it there. I wish you all a very good night. It's been a great, really enjoyed it. It's got me away from the Morse key in the bottom end of 20 meters. So I was certainly enjoying the new territory I'm in here, and I look forward to getting involved in other aspects of it as well. So 7-3s to you all, and hopefully I'll get on Thursday night. So this is GI40, which I'm not sure. I think it was Mike G0MJW last time. Not sure whether it still is. Yeah, it's on the see it on the screen. I'm learning to multitask now and read the screen and speak at the same time. 7-3s all.
Yeah, sorry, wrong frequency. Well, that's because I was testing earlier. Hopefully it's the right frequency now. Yeah, sorry, wrong frequency. Easy mistake to make. Well, your ride's going to lose it, Tim, because I've moved. I mean, that was the issue with the Octagon, actually. It's a wonderful receiver, but it basically picks up any signal it likes in the at the same symbol rate within the bandwidth of the transponder, which is not particularly useful. Anyway, not a lot to add really, but seeing as we're in a gratuitous showing of pictures of dish phase, I thought I would show you a picture of the dish. The dish is one I managed to get surplus a few years ago, and I'm going to use it for moon bounce, but I need to do some mechanical engineering, and I haven't got the ability to do it myself, so I'm going to need some help with that. To give it azimuth, I've got an azimuth bearing now to put in, but it needs some mechanical work to develop the thing to go in between the dish and its mount to make it go round, and then I can go up and down with one of those jacks that you normally use for satellite dishes. And hopefully that will allow me to use it for EME eventually, which is what its original purpose was, because you don't really need a 2.4 meter dish for QO-100. The feed is, I think I already talked about that, and if you look, typical Murphy's Law, if you look in the image in the top right, top left rather, there is a tree, and the tree has grown and it is just starting to shade the dish. And I found that out when we did the measurements a couple of weeks ago when we had the solar conjunction. So I got about 10 dB of solar noise, and I could just see the shadow of that tree starting to get onto the dish. So it will no doubt grow, and I will have to cut it. But luckily it's in my garden and not in someone else's garden, so hopefully I can do something about that. But I was actually eyeing up that tree as the potential support for an HF antenna, so never mind. Okay, this is the live view of the dish, and those aren't insects, it's rain. It's chucking it down here as well. I think it's chucking it down everywhere. In fact, I've had several SMS alerts about the rain and flooding and various things, so it's going to be a bit of a problem, but that's the garden. Okay, right. I guess we want to go back to a picture of something unsensible and ugly rather than nice dishes. So it was really good to see the CAT 20 today. I thought the presentations were all really, really good. So I really enjoyed that. I wasn't actually glued to the stream quite as much as I might have been like Noel. I did keep an eye on it though, but apart from one dropout early on, it just seemed to work fine. I was transmitting about 8 watts, but to give you an idea, and I don't know if this is going to come out, let's see. Oops. Yeah, so that's the power consumption of the QO-100 amplifier today in kilowatt hours. Now, I'm not quite as extreme as I measure these things deliberately. It's just that because it's remote and in the conservatory, I have it on a smart plug, so I can turn it on and off from wherever I am, rather than having to bother with doing anything else. And yes, the problem with chopping the top of the tree off is it stops the tree growing, And the thing about HF antennas is the higher the better. So that's the problem there, Sarah. Anyway, hopefully you managed to get your system up and we'll be able to see you soon. Right, so with that, 7-3 to everybody. It's been a great evening. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. I'll put up the other test card and hopefully not cut off too soon before it's stopped.
Right, okay, thank you, Mike. Yes, I've had dealings with trees only yesterday, actually. So yesterday, as we were just doing the final touches to getting ready for QO1 for CAT 20, and there was the sound of chainsaws next door. And they were getting rather close to my transmit dish. It did cause a bit of concern, but that was tempered by the disappearance of the tree that gets in the way, so, which isn't on my land, obviously it's next door's tree, and I have to keep sneaking out there and chopping bits off of it. But now it's gone. So I was overjoyed by that, but still a little bit nervous by all this tree felling that was going on right next to my dish. So I'm glad that didn't cause a problem. And of course I haven't been back today because it's been tipping down. So that was ideal, really. Otherwise we would have just had the sound of chainsaws. They made a right racket, actually. So I was glad that tree's gone. So I went and told them that. I said, yes, but there we are. Okay then. Right. Well, it's been an excellent day. Everything I think it's gone pretty well, actually. So you can see I've actually packed my green screen away. So I don't know if that'll go up high enough to show it. I'll have to. I can't wait for the. Yeah, there we are. So it's just hanging on the ceiling up there now. So that's pretty good. Of course, there's no preview on. There's no preview on the port stand when you're using this camera. You just got to wait to sort itself out. There we are. Oh, that's nearly it. That's not too far off. Right. Okay. So that's good. Yeah, I've started to put the shack back together now after the activity. 3D printer's returned to its resting place. So, oh dear. I just got to remember tomorrow to go up into the loft and put all the floorboards back down that I had out to attach the green screen. Right, that's probably enough from me. So I'll say 7 threes, and well done everyone who was controlling all the bits and pieces. It's quite a task to get all that done, that's for sure. But yeah, very good indeed. Okay, 7 threes, and it must be round to Jen, is it again, for the next bit? I would assume. It'll pop up shortly anyway. Okay then, 7 threes then. G4KL.
Well, that's the microphone fallen over. See if I'm getting sick. Yes, I'll put it back. I don't have a lot else myself either. The only thing I've not talked about is the LNB. Somebody's saying about, was it you, Mike, saying about phase locking? And I haven't bothered on this LNB, but when I do the same when I'm now around. And oh good, that's come up, so I'll go over to that. But what I do on narrowband, when I do have that working, I use 2 different frequencies on the SIG-gen, so I can come out on the narrowband section. I come out on 77. But I'm using one of those Chinese, those £2 Chinese LMBs that I put on the chat page. I never got a reply from that. There were lots of people who've used it, but there were no comments, so I don't know if anybody else bothered. And the price did go up quite a bit after that. Plus, I noticed these days the Chinese suppliers are beginning to charge postage, so I think I can imagine why they're doing that, but we won't go into that. So that'll do me for today, or for tonight. Again, thanks a lot to everybody who's put all the hard work in, and I'll ramble on a bit more next Thursday, I think, particularly to you, Jim, if you're still there, about those MC17C chips, because the time constant I had on that was about 10 minutes. It was really quite strange on two separate ones. So anyway, let's see who it's going on to, if there is anybody it's going on to. HB9DUG, that's fine. Okay, well, I'll watch. I obviously won't come back on again, but thanks everyone.
Okay, not much to add to my first run. I just wanted to thank Sarah, because I've seen that she's on the chat, and can see that the result of the Gerber file she have put on the net. So we made 10 pieces of the BIS circuit from Amplion, and I got the first one here. One side was made directly from the Chinese guys, and the other side we did it. As I said before, we pick up the wrong type for the amplifier, in fact, so we are still waiting for them. So thank you very much, Sarah. It's going to be nice to try it, to drive the Amplion amplifier. So once more, thank you to everybody for this nice day, and looking forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you, Dave, once more, and have a nice
Clunk. Well, at least I got the clunk when I switch on. That's got to be good. There we go. Yeah, you can see the trailer for the mast, Mike. That's the big box on the bottom, which holds all the amplifiers and things at the bottom there. Power supplies, 23 sems amp and stuff like that. And then there's a shortish cable that's still like nearly 10 meters that goes from the back of the box right the way around to the back of the dish and the edge of the dish and whatever. So there we are. That was the wrong one. Right. So yeah, some interesting stuff as usual this evening. All good. One thing I noticed, I'm using, well, I don't notice the problem actually. On my dish, I'm pointed up, so I'm elevated. The feed is actually, the 13 sems feed that I'm using for S-Hale is inside the middle waveguide of the 23 centimeters feed. So if I'll go to the back of the room and I'll show you. Now I've got my wireless headset. This is actually quite handy. Try not to knock everything off the bench. Oh dear, this was a bad idea from the start, wasn't it? Yeah, great. One more. We've made it. So yeah, that's Clive's 23 cents feed that he made for his dish. So my 13 cents feed is actually slid into there at the moment, and that makes it really handy for just connecting it up dead quickly. I can leave this connected, or my equivalent of this one. This one is a lot neater than mine, by the way, and look at all the pop rivets on there. It's really nice. Anyway, getting distracted now. So yeah, I'll just pop the feed into there, and with it being tilted up like that, the feed is actually protected from the rain, so I can just leave it open and it doesn't get any water in, rather than being an offset dish where you're pointing up over all the time. It's quite good. So yeah, and that's yeah, it's quite a nice arrangement. If Clive is watching, he's getting featured. Even got a metal bar along there to put all the screws in for the polarizing section in there, or depolarizing, whichever way. So yeah, that's one day that'll go back to Clive's and we'll all be good. Right, what else was I going to show? So I said I'd put on the comedy size feed. It is at a 1.8 meter dish, yeah. I'll have to find a picture of that, but that's what it's going on to. But it does work surprisingly well. Better than any other feed you can put on a 1.8 meter dish. When I had mine, that was the best feed on it. Couldn't do any better. Right, what was I going to put on here? Desktop. Display capture. Okay, there we are. So, I was going to mention that after today's goings on, let me try and make this a bit, get rid of some of the windows. So, these two little bits here, which you can, oh, this is going to be good, isn't it? You're going to get picture in picture in picture in picture. Anyway, what I've got is a little control panel here. This is like the base of the program, and then I've got these pop-out windows. So the pop-out windows are a display. It's got call sign and frequency, symbol rate, MER, mod code, resolution, codecs, and aspect ratio, and then there's a little volume slider on the top there. I can wind up and down. So that at the moment is my receiver I use on QO-100 with click and tune. So I can click on here, go straight to the beacon, and sure enough the beacon pops up there, and then go back, and I can click back. Hopefully it comes back onto my signal. So that's the quick tune with you can use with Longmind. This is the original Longmind version. I haven't done any changes on it yet. So this all lives on a Raspberry Pi, Pi 3 I think. And there's like a very much bodged together kind of server, TCP server in Python, which listens for a connection from this little panel here, and then sends the UDP commands on from the control program are sent to this little bit, which then sends it down to the Raspberry Pi on the network, and then that goes, you want to receive something, and then spits out the UDP stream across the network, and that's what receives in this window. So the next job was to add multiple streams. So I've basically got this button here just creates another receiver. If there is one available, it will pick it up and it would display it on there. So it's just a receiver class display in C# that you can kind of reproduce. So if there were 4 streams, I could basically have all 4 loaded up like that, which would be quite handy for the guys running the 4 receiver. It was built, but has the server part of it never got built yet, which is kind of already there now. So interesting. So we'll have to look into that. So I said I would show that to Let's see, if only it was C++. Yeah. I have learnt a bit of C++ in the near or recent future, but I don't know how GUIs in C++ always seem so complicated, yet in C# I was able to knock something up in like half an hour. So same with Visual Basic, when we used to do that, it was so quick to knock things up, whereas C++ and making a GUI was always a pain for some reason, but that was just me not understanding things, I think. Right, so if I come back to the camera, all there is inside the box, that's the box, which is open fronted. See if it actually shows anything in there. Maybe not. You can see there's a Minitune V2 board in the back. It's going into the USB, not via SPI, but you never know, that might change soon. Pi 3, power, and network, and that's it. That's all that runs there. So yeah, I've got another V2 board in the back of there to populate to use on it, but I've just never got around to using it. So it kind of was already work in progress, but it's got distracted. Things have distracted me called GB3KM. So if there's any questions about that anyone wants answering after the net, let me know. There's various bits and pieces in there. Right, you can see the display there. There you go. Didn't see that earlier, really, did you? And then, yeah, there's the Ryde Pi there, which I'm just fiddling around with at the moment, doing a couple of things. So there we are. So I'll hang around after the net, and if anyone wants anything interesting, anything talking about it. GKQ. Okay, right. We'll go back to Dave, and then that's probably it for the net, I think. Yeah, something else I want to talk about, but I'll leave that for the moment. Right, back around to you, Dave. GKQ, 0DTS. Oh, headset. The headset is, apologies, hang on. It is a new one that seems okay, but it's not perfect. There, if that comes through. Oh, hang on, camera. Apologies, Dave, if you went to transmit there and you're straight on the button. So it's Bluetooth. It's not the cheapest headset, but then again, the other one was about 30 quid. That wasn't wireless. I think this was like 40 something. It was on offer last Tuesday, or whenever it was, on you know where. So that's the one. It's the BH359A. And yeah, it's okay. It's not too bad. You can tell it's compressed on the Bluetooth, but there we go. Right. Back around to you, Dave. GKQ and 0DTS.
M0DTS, G8GKQ. Okay, Rob, well, thank you very much for showing us the station there and the headset. Been a really good evening. Good to see, how many is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 stations on the net this evening, including myself. So that's really good. Okay, with that, I will close the net for tonight. Thanks to everybody who's contributed today. It's been a big team effort. I've just been the one in front of the camera, so thank you very much. G8GKQ closing the BATC net, and same place, same time next Thursday. Good night all.